Right, so in this video, we're going to talk about the sales industry. So if you're a business owner running any sales-based service, you've got sales reps and you pay them a commission, you must watch this video because this will absolutely shock you. See, in the sales industry, when it's especially high aggressive boiler room sales tactics, they believe the answer to all problems is more revenue and more sales. So whatever it takes to get the deal across the line. So we're going to look at Pink Energy. This was a company that sold solar panels. They eventually turned over $600 million. So you must think, well, they must have made a lot of money. Clearly, but they went bankrupt because their entire business structure was in this sort of boiler room aggressive sales tactics. So although they're making $600 million, I can pretty much guarantee the net margin would have been single digits and maybe even negative. I haven't really looked into the company too much. I'm just using this as an example because what it really actually matters is two different things. The first thing we'll talk about is discounts. So in these typical sales industries, they allow their sales rep to give a discount. So the civilian operator says, well, if it's a 10% discount, I'm only losing 10%. The actual reality is it's 90%. See, in the normal world, 10% is 10%. In corporate finance, 10 equals 90%. And that doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to make it make sense. So look on this column here, right? The B column, the left column, bottom left. This is the civilian operator. They sell something for $1,000. They give a 10% discount. So that's $900. Now after the cost of goods sold, take off the $800. That leaves a margin of $100 and they pay the sales commission 10%. And they're left with $10. See how bad that is? That's their gross profit. So their net profit will pretty much be in a loss. So what happens is these sales companies are basically on a treadmill because one, they don't want to actually sit down and do a spreadsheet like this. They just think, okay guys, you need to sell more. The answer to our problems is more turnover, more sales, get the deal over the line. So the only people really winning are the sales reps. They don't really care about the business as long as they get paid. But this is the wrong way to look at it because it just leads to problems later and lawsuits. So what you may think is, well, why on earth are they paying a commission off of the revenue, the gross sales? Now that's, if you're asked that question, you're a smart operator. But the thing is, you'll be surprised how common this actually is. The actual real reason that they do this is because they don't want to tell the sales rep the actual net margin. It's really an ego thing, a privacy thing. So they just think, okay, they keep it a secret. And that's the wrong way to look at it because an Apex operator flat out doesn't give discounts because they've looked at this spreadsheet and they realise that what's actually happening is if they give a 10% discount, they've just lost 90% of their gross margin after you account for cost of goods sold. I've made a separate column called Poach. If you look at this column on the far right, this is just the same as the first column, the exact same, without a discount. That's it. There's no difference there. Just no discount. Okay? But the middle column is how the Apex operators do it. They're given a percentage of the actual net margin, the net margin, gross margin. Sorry. Look at the difference, right? From $10, how the civilian operator does with discounts, that bumped the gross profit up to $150 right there. You see how much of a difference that actually is? So if you're in the sales industry and you're giving discounts or you're authorizing discounts, you are actually incinerating your gross margins without realizing it. This is something people don't realise. This is the math of percentages is absolutely brutal. This is why companies like Pink Energy, they don't last. And there's millions of these companies. Sales industry is rife with them. And these people don't sit down with a spreadsheet or even take 2 minutes to think. They're on a constant hamster wheel, running on a treadmill. No one actually in the entire business sits down and goes, actually, if we give 10% discounts to everyone, oh, and by the way, if you allow your sales rep to even give discounts, they're going to do it every single time to get a deal over the line. They don't actually need to sell anything. They don't need to negotiate. They don't need to actually be a good salesperson because you've just wrote them a ticket, an easy pass. Yeah, just give them a discount. The apex operators create friction for the sales team because the sales team, if they're just flat out cannot give a discount, and say a whale client or a big client really wants a discount, it goes to the head, the CEO or the founder, and the founder, you, makes the decision if you want to give a 5% discount for a big client, but you at least do the math. That's the whole point. Because the fact is, the civilian operators are running on this tiny gross profit, just surviving. And these companies survive so long because of velocity. The only reason it looks so bad is because I put it as 1,000. But if we change that to 10 million, it's still equally as bad. But because of the velocity, the business can survive. It can tread water up until the business has a shock. You know, all these clients wanting refunds because the sales team are just churning out junk to people that aren't even really qualified to just sell to anyone and everyone. And refunds will come back, lawsuits will come in, you'll get regulators, the list goes on, and the business gets wiped out. Absolutely wiped out. I mean, look, they were 93% year-over-year growth. Didn't save them before its bankruptcy in 2022. Now, Pink Energy were doing the red line model, which was actually, I've even done a spreadsheet for that. To be honest, what I did, I counted after 180 days, they had to refund the client anyway and then they just got even wiped out. Yeah. The point is, no discounts. Actually run it as the way it should be ran. The reason I did as well poach is, say the apex operator wanted to hire someone from another business, because look, say a sales rep works for the civilian, they're getting $90. Okay, they're getting 10% off of the off the actual revenue collected in this example. So if they didn't give a discount, they're getting $100, right? They're not going to come work for the apex who's given, say, 25%, right? So how do you solve that? Well, that's how you have, because you've actually got gross margin, you can say to them, look, I can match it, but you need to understand the company you're working for is actually toxic, throwing out discounts and not making an actual net margin. So you actually have more financial stability. You have more stability here because this business is getting run properly. You can make some sort of deal. You'll figure it out. But you see, the whole point is you have more actual gross margin. You have actual room to have a business. You have breathing room for capital expenditure, operating expenditure, and so on. So there you go. 10% discount incinerates 90% of your gross margin. Yeah, that's the math of corporate finance that people don't know, and your accountant should know. But there you go.